Hi, and welcome to Solving Two-Step Equations, 7th grade style. We're going to keep this pretty simple. And I'm assuming that you've practiced this before, and this is a review for you. What we usually do is, every time, we're solving for x. So I have my target down there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this addition of 2 here. I'm going to peel away these layers, and I'm going to do that by subtracting 2. It's called inverse operations, and I have to subtract 2 from both sides of that equal sign. Because what you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do the other side. And we have 7x equals 30 minus 2 is 28. And then now I'm going to use inverse operations again. That's multiplication, and I'll use division to solve for x. So these would cancel out. I now have x, and I have to divide by 7 on the other side as well. And 28 divided by 7 is 4. And we could check to make sure this is right. So we would have 7 times x plus 2 equals 30, and that 4 right here, that can go in for x. So that would be 7 times 4 plus 2, and 7 times 4 is 28 plus 2, which gets us to our target of 30, and this is called a true statement, and so we are good. That checks. Our answer is 4. Next one. We have this one. Now, there's 2 ways of doing this problem. And I'm going to, I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to do it twice. And you can decide which way you like best. First, I'm going to distribute. I'm going to distribute that 4 to both items in there. 4 times x is 4x. Plus 4 times 5 is 20, and that equals 36. So now I'd start doing what I was doing previous. I would subtract 20 from both sides of the equal sign, and I get 4x equals, that's going to be 16, and I would divide both sides by 4. And x is the value of 4. So x is 4. Now, that's one way of doing it. You could do it this way too. And I will separate this. You can use method 1, or there is another method, and I'll call method 2. And this way, we would divide by 4, because that's 4 times, there's nothing in there, so we assume it's multiplication, times everything in here. And just like we had here, multiplication here, and we divided by 4, we would divide by 4 right here too. So these would cancel, but you have to divide this side by 4 also, because what you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other side. And we have x plus 5 equals 36 divided by 4. That is 9. And then what we do is we would subtract 5, and x equals 4. See, it doesn't matter what you do, method 1 or method 2, you still get 4. Now, I want to add another item. And the last type of question, let's see, I'll have negative x minus 4 equals negative 7. How about that? Lots of negatives and minuses. Now, what we would do is this is not so much of a, I guess it's still a two-step equation, but what I would do is, since I have 2 sides of the equal sign, I would add 4 to both sides. And you have negative x equals, that's negative 3. Now, from this point, I'll give you the quick one here. What I see is, if you have negative x equals negative 3, then that means that positive x would have to equal positive 3. And keeping in line with what you do to one side, you have to do the other side. If I change the sign on this side here, I change the sign on this side as well. So x has to be 3. And we can show that this is right because we could plug it in our original equation. It was negative x minus 4 equals negative 7. I could plug 3 into here. So that'd be negative 3 minus 4. What is that? That's negative 7. And that is our target. So it worked. Now, that's one way of looking at it, what you change to one side, you have to do to the other side. You have to change the sign. Also, another way of looking at this is you have negative x equals negative 3. That negative x counts as negative 1x equals negative 3. And you can divide by negative 1 on both sides. These cancel. And x equals, now negative 3 divided by negative 1 is 3. So you would still get the same answer. That is the answer. I just chose two different methods for the same thing. This was method 2, and this was method 1. So again, however, it looks like method 2 expands because I take this here and I take it a little bit farther, but I'm explaining a little bit more of what's happening here, or I just kind of jump to the answer here. Either way, I think they're both perfectly acceptable. So that's it. That's what you got to know for these two-step equations and distributive property and such. Thanks for watching.